fur friends, welcome to our channel. Today we're going to show you how to do a full groom on a doodle. I bet everybody's familiar with doodles, but I bet you can't guess what type of doodle this sweet fella is. Stay tuned. So I'd like to introduce you to Hudson. Hudson is a 1-year-old porty-doodle. And a porty-doodle is, or porta-doodle, is a Portuguese water dog crossed with a poodle. So we're going to do a full groom on him today, and we're just going to basically do him same length all over. He's such a good-natured, sweet little guy. He's only a year old, and we're going to basically just clean him right up because it's snowy and wet outside, and that's when they start to get matted. So we're going to show you all the details of that. Right now, Hudson looks like he's on stilts. Hey, Hudson. So I'm going to do Hudson. I'm going to take some hair off of him before I bathe him, which I recommend you do that because it shortens the bath time and the dry time for the groomer and more so for the dog. So I'm going to use a 30 blade on my Heiniger clipper, my cordless clipper, which we do have a video on, which we'll link above. And I'm going to use a 5/8, I think it's 5/8 of an inch attachment comb, and I'm just going to get some of the coat off, and then we'll move him to the bath. Taking off some of his coat, so I'm just running the attachment comb through his long coat just to get off some of the excess coat that you're going to be taking off anyways. So you don't really need, it just makes things a bit faster. Up, buddy. See, he's a little nervous, so I'm gonna have to hold him up. And sometimes the doodles, depending on their shape of their body, because they have really long legs, sometimes leaving some hair on the legs just makes them look a little bit more proportionate. Now he's matted there, so attachment combs won't run through a matted coat. See how it's tugging there? And when it tugs, it leaves little divots in the coat, so you don't want that. But this is just the rough coat just to clip to get some of the hair out. So I think I'm going to leave a little bit more hair on his legs just because he does have long, thin legs. And it just gives them, it doesn't make them look as lanky. So I'm going to finish this and then I'm going to put him in the bathtub. So I'm just wetting Hudson down, and I start around the neck generally because when you get the head wet, that's when they start shaking, and then of course you're covered in water. So I try to do that last, but get him really soaked up nice. And then we'll do his head, and then I shampoo him. I use Best Shot shampoo, which is this one right here. It makes their coat, it's just the ultra wash. It comes in a lemon, and there used to be actually a flea shampoo, which you can't get in Canada anymore, and there's also a conditioner, but it's one of my favorite shampoos because I've never really had many dogs. Maybe in 17 years I've had 2 dogs that react to it, and they're generally dogs that have sensitive skin anyways, and I would be using like an oatmeal shampoo on them anyhow. And it's really good for double-coated dogs because it really loosens up their undercoat. So I've got them all wet now. I'm going to set them up. So just start around the neck and just get the shampoo going around there, and then work your way down. And then down the legs and the feet. Make sure you get the feet really well. Like scrub the feet, because obviously the feet are the dirty part of the dog because that's what's touching the ground all the time. And if you're not bathing a dog properly and you're not getting their feet really well, then the groom is never gonna look smooth and soft, because a clean dog grooms up a lot nicer than a dirty dog. And brushing alone, you get a lot more brushing and successful brushing with a clean dog. Another thing I don't want anyone to forget is make sure that you do his little privates. You wash those up really well because obviously they're the dirty parts too. But when I've had people helping me groom, one of them's holding the camera right now, they omit the butt. the will nots and the dirtiness of the butt. They're like, I'm not dealing with the butt, Mom. You can come and deal with it. But the butt is definitely the dirty part. So, you know, lift the tail up and really give it a good scrub. And you can wear gloves. I choose not to. I probably should because it's starting to make my hands look like I'm 98 years old. But anyways, I just wanted to point out those two important things when you're giving them a bath. So Hudson's all bathed and completely rinsed out. And when you're bathing and rinsing a dog, make sure all the shampoo is out, because if the shampoo's not out, that can cause skin irritation. It's just like leaving shampoo on your own skin. It dries it out and it can cause itchiness and stuff like that. And this time of year in the winter, I would put conditioner on the dogs as well. So after you give them a bath, like I did, shampoo, conditioner, and then towel dry them as much as you can and get as much of the excess water off, because again, it speeds up the drying time. So I'm just drying Hudson with the high velocity dryer. Hopefully you can hear me. And I put on his happy hoodie so it's not as loud for him. And these things are great for, I'm going to turn this off now. The happy hoodies are, I think they're called something else too, but they're great for like dogs that have anxiety and stuff too. But this just relieves some of, these dryers can get very, very loud. And they're strong, so I should be wearing a happy hoodie too. But anyway, so just dry as close to the skin as you can. I'm gonna turn it on and just show you. And it blows out the water. So hold the dryer as close to the skin as you can. And these dryers they don't get hot, but they are very strong. And some dogs lose their marbles. So that's when this happens. Hey, Mr. Hudson, I know. You look so handsome in your happy hoodie. So I've moved Hudson onto the grooming table because sometimes when you're in the bathtub, they don't tend, I blow off all the excess water in the bathtub and then I move them to the table and then I get the rest and then I do the thorough groom there. So you ready, buddy? Hudson's not completely dry yet, but I'm gonna trim the pads of his feet and then cut his nails and then I'm gonna continue drying them. So what I generally do is I trim the, like look at how hairy those little suckers are. So it's even more important in the winter time to make sure that all the hair is cleared out in the pads of their feet, because it picks up all the salt in the ground, on the ground and stuff like that, and it irritates their feet, their little footsies. So just make sure that yeah, and you can see that there's thicker hair in there. And I'm using a 30 blade in the pads. You have to be very careful with the 30 blade because it's not quite a surgical blade, but it cuts very close to the skin, and you can, because there's a lot of, my battery just died, but watch how fast this is. And off we go again. You want to, hang on buddy. You may want to trim the nails first. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes I trim the nails before I bathe them, and sometimes I do it after, because bathing a dog first and then trimming their nails, the warm water actually softens their nails a bit, so they're not as brittle. So that's what I did here. I didn't trim them. Sometimes I trim them first. It just depends how long they are. I usually have a standard way of order of operation, but every dog is different and every situation is different, so you kind of have to analyze it as they come in. And his feet are a tad wet still, so I'm going to probably go back. But I just wanted to show you the pads of the feet, and then I'm going to do the nails. So see how long those are? See how long that is? And you can actually, even though these are black nails, you can almost see the quick. When you flip their pad and you're looking at the top part of the nail, you can see the quick in there. So I'm going to, good boy. See how much shorter that is? And there's no blood, so that's good. And he's being so good. Because everyone is timid when it comes to black nails. They're afraid to cut their own dog's nails, and I get that. See that? That's a perfect one to show you. The quick is right there, and that's all nail. Can you see that in the camera?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can see it. Whoop! I get nails in my eyeballs, in my bra, and they land everywhere. And he doesn't have dew claws. So just make sure you cut all the nails and then trim the pads of the feet. Hudson's not really matted, but under his arms were matted, and just like under his chest where his harness would go. So I actually shaved in the armpit, and I use a 10 blade with that. You just have to be very careful. And then under here, the sanitary is where I use a 10 blade as well. So I usually lift, like he's a bigger dog, so it's harder to do it this way. And another thing you can do with the 10 blade, wash it, spray it with a clipper spray, because I've just used it in other areas. And then I usually wipe it off with a towel. Just clear out right around the ear. His ears really don't need to be plucked. There's a little bit that could be plucked. You could almost do it with your fingers. Like, see how that's coming out with my fingers? I don't like clearing out all of the hair, but a little bit. Because you need a bit of hair there to protect things from going inside the ear as well. See, and that one's not hairy at all. And you just check to make sure that they're clean, and his ears look really clean. Right, buddy? Okay, so I'm just gonna finish drying them. I've run the clipper through Hudson with the attachment comb and got most of the coat off. And when I'm using an attachment comb, I go over the coat probably multiple times. I'm gonna say probably 4 times. And why are you laughing?
Because look how sad he looks.
Don't be sad. He's not sad. He just can't see at the moment because I haven't done his hair. So after you've got most of the coat out, or dried most of the coat, then I brush them out. So I've brushed them out, and then make sure you take your comb and glide the comb through to make sure that the coat is completely matte free, because when you're using an attachment comb, if the coat's not matte free, it's going to leave big divots in the coat, because attachment combs cannot go through a coat that's not dematted. And another point I want to make is a lot of people in the winter time, do you want to see? There we go. A lot of people in the wintertime think that they should leave their dogs longer because they're going to be cold. I personally don't agree with that, because dogs get wet constantly and people don't dry them, and then they don't brush them out, and then they start getting matted, and then they come to me and they're like, oh, I lost control of the grooming and he's all matted, and it's because he was getting wet all the time. So I would find a length that you like your dog in, and I would literally leave the dog that length all year round. I mean, maybe a smidge longer in the winter time, but just put a coat on them. And if it's bitter cold, I'm pretty much sure your dog's not going to be out in it that often anyways. So I personally recommend and suggest to people to not leave them long, because most people, like I just groomed one this morning, and I had to go really, really short, and the dog was just here at Christmas time. It's been 2 months, and it shouldn't get matted in 2 months if the dog is brushed out regularly. So I'm going to continue grooming, and then I'll be back. When you're using the attachment comb, run with the grain of the hair. And I ended up not doing the legs really longer than the body. So see how I'm running with the grain of the hair? And I've gone over this multiple times and there's still hair coming off. And then use your comb, actually brush, to brush this up here. And that just puffs up. Like, is there anything cooler than puffy feet? Right? Have the poofy feet. He's got such a fluffy coat, and look at his markings. Like, they're adorable. He almost looks like a confused zebra. So at this point, I'm just going to keep going over them, and then I'm doing a lot of scissoring as well. And another suggestion, when you're using scissors, always go with the grain of the coat, because if you go like this and you start chopping like this, you're going to have big pivots out of his coat. So you need to brush up with the comb. Take the attachment comb. See how much hair is coming off? And then just fluff up the foot. He's curling his little toes in. You're curling your toes in, silly boy. There. So I'm just gonna do that with all 4 appendages, and then I'm gonna I always do their face last. So I'll be back. So Hudson's overstanding now, so I'm just gonna let him do what he wants, but I'm just gonna make sure, because the noose isn't on him, that I'm holding him. So I'm gonna do his head now. The easiest way to do any type of doodle head, brush all the hair forward, make sure it's completely dematted, which he is. Brush it all forward, and then just make sure you go up like maybe two attachment comb sizes. Always go longer than shorter. You can always make it shorter, but you can't glue it back on. So, and then I just run the clipper forward so that it's nice and even. Right, Hud? Good boy. And then run it along the side. Let's see, I've missed some spots there. His body's not completely done. Let's make sure that everything's brushed out. Clear out the eyes. Good boy. You can use thinning shears as well if you prefer thinning shears. Some people like hair left on the nose, other people don't, so that's another personal preference. The nose and the face hair grows in the quickest, so then people complain, oh, the dog's hair on the face grew so fast. Well, it's because they want it longer, but then the face does grow in faster because there's less room there. Right, buddy? Hudson's mom and dad, though, are not picky at all, so it makes my life a lot easier because they're just happy with whatever length I choose, and they just say they know that, you know, if the dog's getting wet and it's gonna get matted. So just brush forward and then just keep on trimming around the eyes, do the bang, and then the beard. So brush it all out. And then just go up like in a half moon almost. You're angling right around and then going right up the side. And then get your comb, brush it out again. And I always lift up. See, there's always this stuff here. Watch your tongue there, buddy. Just watch their tongue, that they're not doing the snaky in and out. Just hold their snout really, really tight. And do the same thing on this side. And then just keep getting your comb and brushing it out. You're gonna have to do it a few times. Keep brushing the head forward. Make sure the bangs are even all the way across. I'm using straight scissors right now, and these are what size are they? 8.5 inch. Curved scissors for the head are ideal, but for like someone, I mean, I've been grooming for so long that I just use whatever scissors are sharpest for me. So he's starting to get more of a round little face. Right, buddy? You're a good boy. He's been so good. He just doesn't like standing up. He gets all stiff. And then blend the ear, or the hair on the top of the head, right into the ear. Same on this side. Go with the grain so you don't have divots in there. And that's it, right? And then as far as the ears go, everybody's got personal preference with the ears. I personally like ears shorter because they make them look more like a puppy. So just make sure the ear's completely brushed out. I shaved a little bit in here, right around the, and then just follow the leather of the ear, and you can just sort of decide what length you like. I usually do them longer, and then I just kind of test it out and see. Try and go right and get right around the lips too, like the hair right in there that goes in their mouth. Good boy, Hudson. And then you know what the key is? After you think you're finished, get them to shake. And then that does a natural poof up for you, and then you can get the bits that you've missed. I literally take my scissors out with the dog, and my OCD kicks in, and I'm like, oh, I missed a little spot. Just hang on, because once you get them off the table, they're shaking. And so I will come back and show you the finished product. So here's Hudson's finished product. Hudson, can you smile for the camera? Smile. You good boy. Yes, you're a good boy. Yeah. So we're all finished, and I hope this helped. If anybody out there has any comments or questions that they need answered, I'm more than happy to help. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time. And say bye, Hudson. Bye.